Well, good morning and welcome back to another landscape lighting video. Lots of lighting going on this time of year with Christmas lights and everything else, but this is actually the second in a series I'm doing with Volt Lighting. They've sponsored this, and as far as they've supplied all of the lights, the wire, the connectors, all of that stuff that you see here. We're lighting up my entire house, front, sides, and back. And again, this is step 2. I'm getting better and better at it. And in today's video, I'm just going to take you through another section that I did, show you some of the connections that I made. And then in the third and fourth videos, you'll see that I actually get better at doing all of that stuff. So it's kind of showing you the whole progression. So with that, let's go over what today's video is going to cover. All right, so as I mentioned before, the best thing to do is start with a plan. And in step 1, we did just these 2 palms here in this one, and I'll show you what those look like, because now I've got them all buried in the ground, and show you what those look like all lit up. Now there's different colors you can do. I obviously have them for Christmas time right now, but I'll show you what they look like with the warm white. And actually you can see here's full brightness of warm white, and then you can actually turn it down. I actually prefer to have them turned down a little bit more subtle. So that's what we did in the first video. Now today's video, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through and do this section here that's gonna go all the way down, and it's gonna light up the palms back through here. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's where this is going here. And this actually shows the cable going out in the yard. It doesn't. It goes down this foundation of the house. And that's where I want to point out I guess the most difficult part of installing this is not the connections and the wiring and the electrical stuff. It's actually the digging. The digging is the toughest part because it's just straight up backbreaking work. So got the wire run. This is 12 gauge on these because it's not a very long run and I've only got a few lights on the end. And then what I'll show you next is 2 connections I did for this one and that one. And those are just, I guess it's called daisy chaining, because you have this one hooked up using wire nuts, and then you run the main down a little more, and then you hook up this one using wire nuts, and then you run the main out. So here I am hooking up this one right here. All right, so what you're seeing here is a 12 gauge main wire, and I'm gonna mark this. This particular section I'm marking in yellow. You'll notice if you watch all these videos that I always mark all of the mains with a certain color. And I do that so that when I get back to the box to do the install, I know where everything's at. I know what is what. So later on down the road, if I need to troubleshoot or find out if something's broken or not working, those color codes will help me. You'll also find that then I measure, or I mark every single fixture with red. Again, that's so later on down the line when I come in here, if I have to do repairs or troubleshooting, I know what is a fixture versus what is a main power line. Now this is 12 gauge wire here, and I only need 12 gauge here because it's a short run and there's only gonna be, I think 6 or 7 lights on it, which isn't gonna pull a lot of power. So that's what that is there. And if you see the shoes in the background, that's my dad. He was here. This was over the Thanksgiving break, so he was here with me helping out, which was really nice. Now, once I got everything marked, the next thing to do is strip the wire. Now, you'll see I'm struggling here. I can tell you that after I did this several times, because as I'm recording this, I've already done a few other sections. You'll see those videos coming up. I can tell you now, I'm much quicker at this. In fact, I would say I'm almost on pro level. And when I say that, this is not a difficult thing to do, stripping wire. So it's not difficult to master it quickly. But either way, that's what I'm doing. So you're splitting the wires and then exposing the ends so that way you can wire them up into the wire nuts. All right, so now I've got all the wires exposed. And so what you have to do is separate them out, and you don't have to worry about which side goes with which. It's just one of each wire goes together. So I've got 2 mains and I've got a fixture. So I'm gonna put those 3 wires together, and then I'm gonna twist on a wire nut, and then I'm gonna do the same thing with the other side. This is not too hard here because there's only 3 wires going in, so it fits in real nice and easy. Now you're gonna see as I do other ones of these, I probably do them a little bit differently, but this worked just great. Just put them all together. You can see I've exposed, what, about a 1/2 inch there of each of the wires. You definitely don't wanna have any of that copper hanging out the bottom of the wire nut after it's on. But I do a little bit of pre-twisting here like this, you can see, just so everything is together, and then I twist the wire nut on after that. And there's some dielectric grease in there, and I guess that just helps with the waterproofing and everything. But I basically just twist it until I can feel it tighten up. You'll feel it. You can feel it bind everything together, and that's how you know you're done. So there we go. There's a finished connection. Now the last thing I do is I do go ahead and electrical tape everything together, and I just figure that's some extra help there. You know, this is gonna get buried in the ground. It's gonna have, I mean, it might get foot traffic over top of it. You know, I'm gonna put rocks in here eventually. You know, there's a lot going on here. So I just think the electrical tape is an added bonus to help hold everything together. I will tell you that that dielectric grease coming out the bottom, it makes it a little bit more difficult here, but I'm definitely not a pro at taping, is basically what I'll say. So, and I still haven't mastered the taping part, but anyway, there you go. There's the first connection of the first light into the main. And so just to reiterate, what you see here is the main now is continuing on because it needs to power some more lights. And that's what this daisy chaining is. I've got one light hooked in, and then the main continues on so we can power more. And then here I am hooking up this one right here.
This is the other main going out. This one's coming in here.
So there you can see my dad in there again helping me out. And once again, I'm just hooking up another one of these lights. This is that daisy chaining effect. So we've got a main here coming in, and then we're gonna split all the wires. We're gonna integrate in the light itself, and then we're gonna have the main continue on out the other end. And I'll show you this again because I want you to see, number one, how I continue to struggle here, because as you see the future videos, you'll see that stops quickly, and I think that'll give you confidence. But I just like to show all the connections, because I think that's really the main thing that most people are apprehensive about, are these connections. And I was too, and I watched a lot of videos, and I watched as many as I could where people were actually doing the connections. Now you'll see my dad's got the connector there, that's the snap connector. We're not using that one here. We're just gonna use wire nuts again. We're gonna use the snap connector coming up here on the final connection that we're doing. But again, to reiterate, what you have coming in here is a main, and then you have the light itself, and then another main going on back out down the line. You'll also see that I neglected to mark these for you, but I do mark them at the end. Again, I want to keep them marked early on in the process because I think it helps you to visualize what I'm doing. But you can see here at the end, I do go ahead and mark them. Mains in yellow, main power lines in yellow, and then the fixture itself in red. So this one now is daisy chained into the power connection. And then I have a main wire that's running out here. And the nice thing I learned here is with that long lead, see these? They come with, these are the RGBW, all that stuff, all the different colors, LED. But look at that, 25-foot lead. So what that means is you really don't need to run your main wire very far. You can run these to it, to a specific spot. And so that's where these connectors come in, because I ran a main all the way out, and then these four I was able to bring to one spot to be able to run into these connectors, and that's what you're gonna see. So a main goes in each side, and then there's a spot for 1, 2, 3, 4 lights. So let's go look at that connection next. All right, so here I am, and you can see I have the trench dug there. And where this is located is, this is behind the palms, the areca palms that are in the backyard. And I'm gonna put in these uplights on 4 of them. So you can see that thicker wire there, that's 12 gauge main. That's the main that's been coming in all along. I'm gonna mark it here in yellow for you so you know that. And that main has power, and it's gonna power now all 4 of these lights that I'm using to uplight the palms. So there it is. And now what I've got to do is I've got to bring each of the fixtures themselves to this point. And that's where I was talking about those 25-foot leads. I didn't even need 25 feet. The furthest one away was like 10 feet away. But that's the advantage to having, and I know Volt does this on purpose, they give you those long leads on those so that you can bring the lights to the power source. Instead of having to run that 12 gauge wire and continue daisy chaining all the way down, you can run all of your lights themselves to the one area or the one spot where the power is, and then that's where you're gonna see, we're gonna use that snap connector or that hub connector to get everything in together, and that's really slick too. So you can see here now, I'm still struggling with this. I know I keep saying this, but I promise you I get better in the future videos. What it is when I was doing this, this is only the second time I worked on this, I was just apprehensive about cutting the wire itself. But you have to trust your tool. There's markings on there that show you, you know, for 10 gauge wire, 12 gauge, 14. And that's what these fixtures are, they're 14 gauge. And so you have to just trust that when you squeeze down on that you got the right size wire in that right hole. Just rip it out. It's not gonna cut the wire, it's not gonna hurt it or anything like that. So that's really what it was. You just gotta trust the tool that you have. And again, you'll see in future videos, much quicker, much easier. But there you go, I've got all of them split up now, all of the fixtures, and that's what I mean. There's 4 of them running in here. And then I got the main, and now it's time to hook up the snap connector hub. So remember, every single wire coming in, you separate them out. Half goes into one hub, and then the other half goes into the other hub. You don't have to worry about polarity here, negative, positive, any of that stuff. This is low voltage, as long as 1/2 of each wire goes into a hub. Now I tried to film a decent angle here. Now you're gonna see I struggle with this just a little bit. One of the other things is in future videos, you're gonna see where I got better with these hubs. And I kind of made a much more logical way of hooking them up, just because I just wanted to save myself some time. Now, I got that one a little long. I don't know if you can tell there, but there's a little bit of copper sticking out there, and you don't really want that. You want all the copper all the way up in there, and anything that should be exposed should be jacketed. Now it'll be fine. This is gonna close down. There's dielectric grease that covers everything up. But in general, you only need to strip off a 1/2 inch or less in order to get these up in there. You see that second connection is a little bit better. There's no copper showing there. So that's one thing I learned. And again, you'll see as you get more experienced, you learn how much do you cut off, how much needs to be exposed. So that third one, much better. You can see no real copper exposed. And here's another one getting slid in. Got to keep twisting them constantly. I even put a little bit of a bend in there, as you can see, which helps me to get it shoved up in there. But that one there, little bit of copper exposed, so not the best. Again, it'll be fine. And this final one, and again, these are all fixtures here. There you go. So what you see there is the first wire that was put in was the power, and then the other 4, those were the fixtures themselves. So now I'm gonna close this up, this half, and the dielectric grease will come out. There you go. Just makes everything sticky, but that's part of the waterproofing. So now what you see is I've got now the other half of every wire, including the main. The main's there on the right. It's a little bit thicker, you can probably see. And it needs to be twisted a little more, but that's the other thing. Part of this is you need to learn how to hold all the wires, because you don't want to dip these down in the dirt. I don't anyway. I don't want any dirt on all this stuff. So again, as we move forward in this video series, you're gonna see I find a much more logical way to wire these up that's a lot more organized and simpler, more simple. But either way, get everything ready. So there, that one right there, you can see it's a little thicker. That's the 12 gauge main going in. And you see I didn't get it twisted off enough. Didn't get it compacted in. So this is all part of learning. That's all you can see. It's getting a little bit, you're just getting a little bit of nastiness there, but what's going on here? Yeah, struggle, struggle. Like I said, you only have to do this a couple times before you figure out that this was really cut too long. That's the issue here. Keep working with it. Yeah, not liking that at all. So what I'm gonna do is start over, because it just, now this causes it to be a little bit of a pain, because now this end is not the same length as all the others, but it works fine. So I decided to go ahead and just reset. And that's a terrible way to do that. You gotta trust your tool to do it. But look, now it's nice and clean, and I've only got a 1/4 inch there. So that right there now will go in much easier. So don't be afraid to just step back, reset. Now it's kind of bent a little bit the wrong way, but you'll see it gets in there finally. I feel like encouraging myself here. Come on, buddy, you can do it. You got this. Get it in there. Come on. All right. Good. All right. Finally got it. Now these are all the connectors, or these are all the other half of the wires for the fixtures. So there's 4 of these. Remember, you have 5 connectors here, 5 snap connectors. So you can get 4 lights with 1 power in. Now you can't go further than this because there's no way to send power back out, but this is the end of the run for me. Remember, the first 2 were daisy chained in, and then these last 4 are all going into this hub, and the first wire I hooked up is the power for the hub, and all the rest are the fixtures. Boom, there you can see that one went in easy, and that's where I learned, give it a little bit of a bend on the end. This one here is a little long, and I realized that, so chop, chop, cut it off. You can see you're getting better already. You start realizing, all right, I'm gonna stop making these same mistakes over and over and over again. But there, next one, and you see, watch, I'll give it a little bit of a bend. See that little bit of a bend there? That just helps to get it in there nice and easy. It's a lot to hold in your hands too. This is part of the process, is learning how to hold all this stuff together, but there we go. All right, now the other half is all in, and we can go ahead and take off that cover and smash it down. And then again, the final thing I do is go ahead and use some electrical tape, tape it up. Again, with all that schmoo hanging out there, it makes the electrical tape hard to use, but it ends up sticking to itself over and over and over again. So I'm a DIYer, I don't have to worry about cost, so I can use as much electrical tape as I want. I'm assuming a pro, you know, this stuff could add up in cost, so they probably try to be a little bit more efficient. But for me, the more tape, the better. Belt and suspenders. So to review everything, here's the first one we did, and it's all buried now so you can't see it, but there's a wire nut connector that's buried under there that connected that one, and then that daisy chains off and goes up to this next one here, which is right there, and I still have a little burying to do here, and there's the wire nuts there, and so you can see main coming in yellow, red coming in with it, and then a main yellow going out to feed the next row down here, and that's the final one we did there that I just showed you there. All right, so as I mentioned, I have these in red for Christmas, but I want to show you just first what they look like all white, because that's kind of normal, and I'm going to turn them down as low as they go. There, that's as bright as it goes. Look at that. But then you can turn it way down. That's what I like. I'm not trying to blast out the neighborhood here. I'm just trying to keep this nice painted light. Look at how beautiful this is, but let's show you what it looks like in white. And I need to show you how it looks from the inside the lanai, because that's really where the view is. So here's the view coming off my back porch. Now you can get a little better idea. See, it's just nice subtle lighting on the areca palms there. That's the whole goal. That's what I was looking for. But let me show you what happens when I turn them this really pretty bluish color. So again, I have them turned all the way down. So let me show you this blue. Here, look. Now you step back, and this camera won't do it justice, but it just paints, and the camera's making it look way brighter than it is actually. I have them turned all the way down, and it's just nice, subtle painting of light through there. That was the look I was going for, uplighting those arecas here in the back. What you think, bud? Here's a look from way back over here. So, and then in the next video, you're gonna see all that back there, which again is all lit up red for Christmas. But the idea is to just have this subtle lighting back here with those uplights. Now again, I gotta do a lot of burying here. I didn't bury a lot of stuff to start with because I didn't know if I was gonna have to take these out, move them around, all that kind of stuff. So I gotta still do a little tidying up there, but when I was learning all this, the main thing I watched over and over and over again were the connections, because that was the one thing that I had the most apprehension about, right? Because you want to get that right. And so I get better and better at it. You're going to see now, because I've actually done 2 other sections that we're going to have videos coming up on here real soon. I get better at wire stripping. I get better at understanding the length of exposed wire to leave. I get better, just all of it. I've actually improved greatly just by doing several of these. So the way you saw me doing these connections, the next ones I do will look even better. At least I think they do. So there you go. I hope this video has been helpful to you. And if you have any questions, leave those below and I'll do my best to answer them. And if I can't, I'll ask the folks at Volt Lighting to help us, because this is a DIY project. All of this is made for do-it-yourself. And don't forget, if you want to reach out to Volt, it's their customer service that'll help you know what size wire to get, what size transformers, all of that kind of stuff, as well as pick out the lights that are best for your situation. So with that, I hope this video has been helpful to you. And again, leave your comments and questions below, and I'll see you in the lawn.